What if the moon disappeared overnight? Let's imagine that you go to bed one night, look up at the sky, and see the moon shining as usual. But the next morning, it's gone. Not behind a cloud, not a lunar eclipse, just gone. What would actually happen if the moon disappeared overnight? At first you might think, not much. After all, the sun is still there. We still have gravity holding us to the earth, and your coffee tastes the same. If you only looked around for a day or two, you might just notice darker nights and maybe a few confused werewolves. But the moon is far more important than just being a nightlight. Its absence would begin to rewrite life on Earth almost immediately. The first effect would hit the oceans. The moon is responsible for most of our tides. Without it, the daily rise and fall of sea levels would shrink dramatically. The sun does create tides too, but they're only about a third as strong as the moon's. This means coastlines would suddenly become much quieter. Fishermen who depend on tidal patterns would be baffled. Beachgoers would find the waves oddly small. And crabs who plan their romantic evenings around the tide schedule would need to find new calendars. But tides don't just matter for beach parties. They help circulate heat and nutrients through the oceans. Without them, some coastal ecosystems could collapse. Species that depend on tidal zones for breeding or feeding would vanish. Over decades, even the large-scale mixing of the ocean might slow down, affecting global climates. The moon plays another subtle role. It stabilizes Earth's tilt. Right now, our planet is tilted at about 23.5 degrees. That tilt is why we have seasons. The moon acts as a gravitational anchor, keeping that tilt from wobbling too much. Imagine a world where one century the poles are scorching hot while the equator freezes, and the next century everything flips again. Farmers would have a terrible time planning harvests. Climate scientists would give up entirely, and fashion designers would have to prepare both winter coats and bikinis for every season. Nighttime would also be forever darker. The full moon is surprisingly bright. It reflects enough sunlight to cast shadows. Without it, the night sky would be ruled only by stars and the occasional planet. Stargazers might rejoice, but for early human civilizations, the moon was more than decoration. It shaped our calendars, guided navigation, and inspired countless myths. Without it, history itself might have unfolded differently. Some cultures might never have invented months. Poets would have lost half their material, and astronauts in the 1960s would have had a much more awkward space race. We choose to go to, nowhere? Now, let's talk about Earth's rotation. The moon and Earth are locked in a gravitational dance. The moon's pull has been gradually slowing Earth's spin for billions of years. That's why our days used to be only 6 hours long in the age of the dinosaurs, and why they're 24 hours now. Without the moon, that braking effect disappears. Over very long time scales, Earth's rotation might stabilize or even speed up slightly. Days could shrink by minutes or hours. Some people might cheer. Finally, workdays are shorter. But your circadian rhythm would be furious. Jet lag without airplanes. And what about us personally? If the moon disappeared tonight, humans would survive in the short term. You could still go to work, pay your bills, and forget your Netflix password. But in the long term, the consequences add up. Unstable climate, collapsing ecosystems, chaotic seasons, darker nights. Life on Earth would not end immediately, but it would become unpredictable and possibly hostile. There's one final, unsettling twist. If the moon simply vanished, poof, the conservation of energy and momentum would be violated. Physics doesn't like that. The moon has mass, gravity, and kinetic energy. Erasing it without a trace would send shockwaves through space-time itself. We might feel a sudden jolt in Earth's orbit. Astronomers would panic, physicists would faint, and conspiracy theorists would finally have their day. So, what if the moon disappeared overnight? The short answer, you'd notice darker skies tomorrow. The long answer, over time, life on Earth would be transformed in ways both subtle and catastrophic. We are more dependent on our quiet, glowing neighbor than we ever realize when we look up at night. So next time you see the moon, maybe give it a little nod. It's not just a rock in the sky. It's the reason your planet isn't spinning like a drunken top, the reason oceans breathe in and out, and the reason humans learn to count months. Without it.